It's officially 9:30. We'll call the county board meeting to order, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. And the clerk will take the roll, please.
Commissioner Look.
Here.
Commissioner Brastad.
Here.
Commissioner West. Here. Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Meisner.
Here.
Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Okay, and then tax claims and abatements. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner. Commissioner Gamache. I'm sorry, I have a...
That's okay.
Okay.
All right, next we have,
I'm so sorry.
oh, yep,
Be back. I gotta get another roll call sheet.
okay.
Go ahead.
Next, we have review of checks if issued from Finance and Central Services and from Human Services. Is there a motion to approve?
So, second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Then we have approval of our minutes from our April 23rd County Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We have one item under Chair's remarks today, and it is the annual report from our Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. Quinn Strobel. The Midwest Medical Examiner's Office seeks to honor those who have died by providing scientific, consistent, and compassionate investigation into the circumstances of the death. Dr. Strobel and the rest of the team are very busy, and the office continues to grow by leaps and bounds. With the addition of Stearns, Cook, Big Stone, and Itasca counties this year, the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office now performs death investigations, conducts autopsies, and provides education and consultations for 26 Minnesota counties, which is incredible. Plus other referral counties and several hospitals, and I know you also do some work for some of the counties over in Wisconsin as well. We keep up with the growth, and last summer the office added a fourth board-certified forensic pathologist who also has a master's in public health. Dr. Strobel has been our chief medical examiner since 2009 and is board certified in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Strobel.
Thank you. Good morning. It's good to be here. I have a more elaborate PowerPoint today that we'll try to keep up with. There we go. So as mentioned, our office is consistently growing. So you can see over the years, the total number of cases or deaths that our office investigates is almost 9,000. And in Anoka County, you steadily grow as well, and so there were over 1,800 last year, total cases. The total number of autopsies, of course, therefore, also grows, and we're almost at getting close to 1,000 autopsies per year. Anoka was at 153 last year on the lower side, which is probably good news. And I'm just going to go over a summary of the individual categories that we look at for manner of death: natural, accident, suicide, homicide, and undetermined, and we'll kind of just highlight some areas in each. So for the natural deaths, as expected, the majority, or many of them, are hospice patients, and so when somebody registers for hospice, that means that it is an expected death, and therefore the medical examiner has very limited involvement, and law enforcement doesn't have to respond to the scene, so the family can have their moments together. Of the cases where we were involved, there were 87 where we had to sign the death certificate. That's what jurisdiction assumed means. We performed 33 autopsies, and the most folks died of, as expected, heart disease. There were 30 motor vehicle fatalities in Anoka County in 2018. The majority of them were males, and they ranged in age from 18 years to 67, and 10 females from 38 to 96 years. Of those, there were 4 motorcyclists, 2 pedestrians, 2 bicyclists, and then 2 incidents where someone was struck by a train. Of those deaths, 10 incidents were known to involve alcohol, and 3 involved methamphetamine. Of the non-motor vehicle accidents, there were 40 deaths attributed to substance abuse, which I'm going to highlight. Again, the majority were males. There were 28 males, 12 females. They ranged in age from 19 to 80 years of age. And so here's the kind of the growth or whatever over the years. And the interesting thing here is you can see, we always tracked heroin. Heroin is the red bar, and you can see it peaked in 2016 and kind of stayed steady. But what we have seen an increase is fentanyl, which can be taken individually alone, or it can be in combination with heroin or other substances. And again, sometimes a person may be seeking heroin and end up with fentanyl. Sometimes they may actually be seeking fentanyl. The other category here, you see the word analogs. So now there are other versions of fentanyl that are being made and used, again, in combination many times with other substances. And you can see from, in 2016, at least for our knowledge, they were almost non-existent, and now we have a significant number. And we still continue to see those substances in our decedents. There were 45 deaths classified as suicide, the same number as 2017. Again, the vast majority were males, and they ranged in age from 17 to 74, and 14 females aged 23 to 60. Alcohol was listed as a factor in 12 of those deaths, and the majority of them were due to gunshot wounds. There was 1 death classified as a homicide, which we don't have on a slide here. A young woman was injured by another person. There were 4 incidents where people found items wondering if they were human or not, and they were all deemed non-human. Lastly, 1,482 cremations were approved, and the recent numbers from the Department of Health state that approximately 60% of families are choosing cremation for their loved ones. So. If anybody has any questions for me, again, it is an honor to continue as your chief medical examiner, and we do have a very strong staff. The other new thing that we have is our office is now staffed 24/7, which is very exciting for us. And so someone is, at the office all day, all night, should someone call in, family, law enforcement needing assistance. So.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Commissioner Look.
Sure, thank you. Doctor, I always look forward to these reports, not based on the information, obviously. It's a little depressing, but it does kind of give kind of an indication of where society is, maybe somewhat. You had said something about gunshot wounds, or how many was the total on that?
I think there were 20 deaths due to, so that was for the suicides, and of the 45 suicide deaths, 20 of them were due to a gunshot wound.
And there are how many homicides?
1.
Just one.
Just
okay.
1 last year, and it wasn't a gunshot wound.
I'm always intrigued at the relationship of guns to deaths and that sort of thing. Obviously, suicide is different than a homicide, but then you compare that to substance abuse, and I think I comment on this probably every single year. And the fact that we have so many people that are abusing substance to an extent that they die from it, and yet there's so much focus on guns today in culture. So it's kind of it's an interesting comparison. Obviously, needs to be more work done on that, and I know the legislature is working on some of that opioids and some of the efforts in that area. So always interesting. Thank you very much.
If I can.
Questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, Dr. Strobel, I know the definition of homicide for a medical examiner is slightly different than a homicide for criminal law purposes. Could you explain that just a little bit, please?
Certainly. So for the medical examiner, homicide, I would say has a kind of a, relatively speaking, a benign connotation. It just means that the actions, willful actions of one person caused the death of another person. And so, whereas, a criminal vehicular homicide where a drunk, person's drunk driving a car and strikes someone, we do call those accidents because it, apparently is an unintentional event. Whereas, of course, in the criminal justice system, it would be classified as a homicide. And that's something easily explained, and most juries understand the difference.
Thank you. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank the doctor again for the professionalism that we have with the Midwest medical examiners. We've seen a great deal of growth in how many different counties across not only Minnesota but into Wisconsin that we're handling now. And everything that I've ever heard, all the information that ever comes out is always professional. It's always totally down the line as to just sticking to the facts of the cases, and I just appreciate all the hard work that you're doing, especially with growth. That can be painful from time to time, but you guys are all seeming to be able to handle that, and I just thank you for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Strobel. I think that Anoka County is very fortunate to have you as our chief medical examiner, and then also very fortunate to have, I think, an incredible team over at the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office. And I know that Gary Alberts is here with you today and is just a key person in that team and going out and working with other counties as well. And
Yes, absolutely. He's a gem. Right here.
so again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we will go on to committee reports, and we are actually going to jump ahead to the Parks Committee report. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to bring Jeff Perry up, and our director of the parks. And Mr. Perry, I believe you might have a guest with you this afternoon or this morning.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioners, good morning. My name is Jeff Perry. I'm the Park Director for Anoka County, and we have a special guest, Mr. Ron Shera, with us this morning to speak a little bit about the Rum River project.
Great. We might as well let him go ahead and get started. I feel like now I'm seeing all the Sheras since we had Laura at the Boy Scout breakfast just last week, and she did a great job. She did a fantastic job. So we'll go ahead and start with, and then when we get to that one, do you want to bring? Okay. The first item on the action items is the committee recommends that the county board authorize Anoka County contract C0007070 for a joint powers agreement with the City of Fridley for Rice Creek West Regional Trail, Lock Park, Parkland Exchange for the City of Fridley's Civic Campus Redevelopment Area. We had this before us as the City of Fridley was putting together their whole project of expansion, so this is just kind of the final look at the contract that we have. Jeff, did you want to add anything?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gamache, yeah, it's a simple exchange, land exchange. The City of Fridley needed to build a road as part of their public safety campus project. And they needed about an acre of land to do that, and as a replacement, the county will actually be receiving a higher quality piece of property just south of where the new road will go. And in addition to that, there's a 15-foot wide trail easement that expands approximately a quarter mile on the south end of the development that connects the new patio home development to the regional park facilities, and also serves as part of the Rice Creek West Regional Trail. So that is also part of the joint powers agreement, is to convey the trail easement from the city to the county.
Good.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a motion, or I thought you were going to make the rest. Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner?
Yes, thank you. Just commentary. So the area that we're describing, it's really thriving. I actually visited the patio home development. I believe there's 26 units in all. They're all sold except for 3. So this is just coming along beautifully, and so this is just great whenever we can accommodate our district cities. Thank you.
And I would just comment, actually, we have Mayor Scott Lund with us here today from the city of Fridley, and I know that there's a number of items on the agenda related to the city, so welcome. And I also see in the back that we also have Mayor Donna Schmidt from the city of Columbia Heights as well, so welcome. We're happy to have you both here today. Okay, further discussion on this item? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad. Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
The next item, Madam Chair, is to authorize an access agreement with the Rice Creek Watershed District for work on Rice Creek within Lock Park, part of the Rice Creek West Regional Trail Corridor in Anoka County, and it's the Anoka County Contract Number C0007173. This is some areas that have been looked at along the creek that need some repair, and this is all of the repairs that need to be done within the park itself, and we have a contract with them. Jeff, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add on that, but it looks like a good project, and we're looking forward to working with the watershed on it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
Item number 3 is asking the county board to enter into 3 master contracts with 3 different utility companies, utility locating companies. They are Zone 1 locating, Anoka County Contract C0007211, Delcom Inc., Anoka County Contract C0007212, and Ground Penetrating Radar Systems, Anoka County Contract C0007213, and I'll move that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Brassad. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item.
The next item is authorizing matching county funds for grant requests to the Minnesota Legacy Fund for a Rum River Habitat Enhancement Initiative in Anoka County. And Mr. Perry, I'll let you go ahead and explain this. You can do it better than I can. I don't want to miss any of the good stuff. I'll let you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This project is on the Rum River, located through the heart of Anoka County. And it's such a valuable resource, not only to the residents, but to the businesses and to all the recreational enthusiasts that visit Anoka County or that live here in Anoka County. And Anoka County Parks Department has been working cooperatively with the Anoka Conservation District in conducting an inventory and analysis of all of the moderate to severe erosion sites along the Rum River within Anoka County. The entire stretch of the Rum River, of course, starts at Mille Lacs Lake, flows down about 151 miles to the confluence of the Mississippi River right down the street here. And of that, about 26 miles of the Rum River flows through Anoka County. In looking specifically at Anoka County alone, the inventory identified 80 pretty significant severe to moderate erosion sites that should be addressed. And doing a further analysis, that entails 133 different property owners, and it spans over approximately 7 miles of stream bank that need attention to get repaired. And we quantified the sediment that's being dumped into the river on an annual basis. It's approximately 7,800 tons of sediment per year are getting dumped into the Rum River because the riverbank is not stabilized. And of course, when sediment gets dumped into the river, it impacts water quality, it impacts the fishery, and in general, the overall health of the habitat along the Rum River. So we put together a series of grant proposals that we would like to apply for through the 3 various legacy programs. There's the Conservation Partners Legacy Program, there's Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council, and there's also the Clean Water Fund Program. They all fall under the umbrella of the constitutional legacy amendment that the voters of Minnesota put in place back in 2008. These are great programs, very important, valuable programs to the residents of the state of Minnesota, and more specifically to the residents here in Anoka County. So there's 2 different phases that we would like to apply for. Phase 1 initially, we would be applying to these 3 different programs. And the total ask for phase 1 is just under $2 million. And that covers a 3-year span. Phase 2 would be another basically 2.5 to 3 year program for another approximately $2 million. So in total, over the next 5 years, there are 2 phases. And the total grant request would be just over $3 million to bring some value to the grant applications. We're proposing to bring a county match to the table, not to exceed $442,711 over the course of the next 5 years. So further breaking that down on an annual basis would be 2020 through 2023 would be $100,000 contribution by the county as a match to these various grant programs per year. And then the final year in 2024, the match would lower down to $42,711 for the county. So in total, over the next 5 years, the county match, if successful in receiving these grants, the county match would not exceed $442,711. This would go through the capital improvements program process with the county and for final review and approval. But in order to apply for these grant funds up front, we would need action by the county board to commit this level of funding towards these projects as a match, just to stabilize the application process and the commitment from the county. With that said, that's more of the introduction, brief overview of the project, the financial commitment from the county on this project. I would like to invite Mr. Ron Shera to the podium to say a few comments about the Rum River in general. So, Mr. Shera.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am now in 3rd place, by the way. It was Raven, and now it's Laura, so I'm 3rd place. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you. My commissioner is Commissioner Matt Look, so I've hounded him, but not the rest of you so much. I'm here to encourage you to invest in the Rum River. I hope I'm not speaking to the choir. Maybe I am. You understand what a great asset the river is to this community. And I think sometimes it's been an overlooked asset. Right now, it is an abused asset. I've lived on the Rum now for more than 20 years. I can assure you that places I used to walk and stand by a tree are no longer there. The river has eaten them away and hauled it down to the Mississippi River, the dirt and soil, and who knows where it ends up, probably in Louisiana. Now, rivers have been doing this forever. But the Rum, all of our rivers, because we've had increased land drainage, increasing rainfalls, sometimes large amounts at a time, and we live in a sand plain here, as many of you know. So the Rum is very subjected to this type of abuse. I'm not a river expert, but I can assure you my impression is that over the years, as I fish the Rum River, there's no fish in there, by the way, so stay out. As I fish the Rum River, it seems to be wider and shallower and filled with somebody's farmland. So the $100,000 commitment for, what is it, 3-4 years? Let me tell you how important this is. I've been honored to be on the Lessard-Sams Council now for 8 years, and I'm on for another 4. And this is, in case I hope you're familiar with, this is one of the greatest gifts Minnesotans have given themselves. We taxed ourselves 3/16 of 1% sales tax devoted to parks, clean water, fish and wildlife habitat. Now, Lessard-Sams Council handles the fish and wildlife habitat end of it. What this really means is for all of you out here who you buy something for $10, you are now spending 4 more cents because you voted to tax yourself. This money represents like $300 million a year. And the Lessard-Sams Council deals out 100 to 115 million because we get 1/3 of that. So now, if Anoka comes with this proposal to develop and to sustain the shoreline of the Rum River, put in some fish habitat, etc. If you show up in front of the Lessard-Sams Council with this proposal and you're not willing to put anything into it, your chances of getting millions of dollars from us is negligible. We're looking for a bang for our buck as well. But if you show up with 100,000 or 7, 8, 9, 10, 12% of the cost that you're putting forward as people who have the most to gain from this, that goes a long way. And I can almost assure you this Rum River project would be approved. And it's just a great thing you can do for the folks of Anoka County and etc. And I'm done with my speech. If there's any questions, be happy to answer them, or I'll get out of your hair. Anything?
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Comment? Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Shera. I appreciate you being on that Lessard-Sams Council. I'm glad that you have another 4 years. We're probably hoping that it'll be even longer than that because of some of the things that you've done for Anoka County in particular and on the Rum River. It is a gem in our community. I was sorry to see you move from Andover way back when we were just down the block from each other, but you've done a great job over in Ramsey and helping that community grow as well. But so we appreciate the work that you've done there for us, and I think this is a great deal. When the people of Minnesota voted for this, that was exactly what they asked for, something where they were ready to pitch in and get things done for the environment and for our resources that we have. So I think I'm all excited about this offer, this opportunity. We did some great work, and you were very helpful on the one that was off of our Cedar Creek area. That looks great, and I think it's working well. And I think with this, we're going to be able to take care of a few other areas along the Rum, and get some work done. So I just appreciate all you've done for the entire state of Minnesota and beyond. But thank you.
Well, thank you. And the project he's talking about, very dramatic. If you've not been on the Rum River, I had the opportunity to show Commissioner Look and some of your staff, including yourself. We ran out of gas up there, but nevertheless. There was a corner of the Rum that was so eaten away, the landowner was planting too close, his fence was dangling out over the river. So this gives you an idea how powerful water can be, and but the good folks, you developed a beautiful plan there to stabilize the bank, even some fish structures there, so I was very proud to be part of that. So.
Commissioner Look.
Sure, thank you. I remember vividly the telephone call I received from Ron saying, "Hey, I want to take you up the river here and show you something." And I think that running out of gas was my fault. I'll take blame for that. I kept filling the boat with people. That thought they should be here too to see this. And unfortunately, we were somewhat moving the river as we were trying to get up. But Madam Chair, the Rum River is, as you know, designated as wild and scenic. It's protected. It's a wonderful asset for our communities. As is the Mississippi. We're just fortunate to have both rivers kind of, encompassing Anoka County. But I often talk with my father, who remembers as a kid he would go along the Rum River and pick up arrowheads, find them along the river, and of course, years and years of washing through. I'm sure those arrowheads are probably in Louisiana by now, but certainly it's generations of people that have recreated and used the Rum River. And it's really sad that there isn't a whole lot of fish in there. I think there's some minnows, but hopefully with this fish habitat, we'll be able to build up those numbers. But I've taken my kids out there, and I know my kids will take their kids out, and it's a generational asset for people to utilize. And what's being proposed here is over many years, hopefully, of spreading the cost and making investments and trying to get the work done. And what it is, we talk about these P3s, private public partnerships. And we have X number of properties that are owned by the city and X number that are owned by the county, and the majority of which are owned by private owners. And there isn't a private owner out there that owns River Shore that, as they see it getting eaten away, think this is kind of a problem. And it's a costly problem to fix, as we know by the cost here. And so many of them are not able to afford it, but what we're proposing is to bring it to these private owners and say, you're not going to have to carry the whole cost. We're going to come to the table and help you, but you do need to contribute some dollars to have some skin in the game. And I think this is where it works for everybody in the process, and they can stabilize it, and they can when your shore is eaten away and you no longer have the land you used to have, you get concerned, and if structures are in the way, that becomes even a bigger problem. We had a trail up north here on the Rum River Regional Park, totally washing out the trail. And so we've had to make investments in that, and these private landowners now, with the passage of this, will be able to make those investments as well that are necessary. But I want to thank Jeff too and his staff. I mean, you guys have beat the bushes to try and find every single funding source possible to try and come to the table with this, and certainly Ron, your advocacy on Lessard Sam's. I recall there were people saying, well, I don't know if we want to be part of this, and you rolled in heavy on it. And you changed their minds, and it's been a wonderful relationship thus far, and I just really encourage the board members to support this and to start the journey of a multi-year rehabilitation process. So, thank you.
You might explain how the Lessard Sam's Council put a lot of money into revamping the dam up to save Lake George, where it would have been a mud hole. So, just so you know that. Any more?
I was just going to comment, thank you so much. We really appreciate your leadership and your commitment to making sure that these wonderful assets are maintained for future generations, because as Commissioner Look commented, it certainly is vitally important. Also appreciate Commissioner Look's passion and leadership. He has been a strong voice for this project on the county board.
It's good, or I wouldn't vote for him if he wasn't.
And so I can assure you that many of us have heard from him over the course of a few years, I think, on this project. And I think we also recognize that just like within highway projects, in order to be successful in competing against maybe others who have projects, we also have to put skin in the game. And we see that time and time again, and I guess this is really no different. So, Commissioner Meisner.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to expand on what Commissioner Look was talking about, and please correct me if I'm getting some of the numbers incorrect, Mr. Perry. But I believe that, I want to say it was 81% is privately owned along the Rum River, and the way that the funding will break down is that the private contribution is around 7%. So, or 7 to 10%, I think, is what private owners then can bring to the table and combined with the other funding that we've kind of gotten together. And then that there will be community outreach opportunities for community to get invested and educated in that. And I think that is going to be a really good thing. And most people will absolutely, to your point, Commissioner Look, get on board and preserve this great resource. Thank you.
If I can, Madam Chair, just one comment. Just remind the board, I'm a little historical knowledge here. 28 years ago, this board received a national award for cleaning up the Rum River, if you recall that. I don't know how many semis full of junk they took out of the Rum River 28 years ago. And NACO recognized Anoka County and gave it an award. So we have, through the years, this board has traditionally tried to take care of its natural resource.
Thank you, Tony, for that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, next item.
Next item, recommend to the board to award contract for exhibit and displays, design build services for the Wargo Nature Center. We have been looking into updating Wargo Nature Center for after many years of use. Some of the displays that we have internally are getting a little old, and we wanted to upgrade it. The project's total cost is $400,000, and the funding will come $50,000 from the Edith Wargo Nature Center endowment and $350,000 from a Metro Parks and Trails Legacy Grant. We were able to see some of the pictures and some of the ideas of the designs that we're looking at, and we do have Chase Studio of Cedar Creek, Missouri is the vendor that will do some of the work. And Mr. Perry, did you want to add anything more to tell us a little bit about what it's going to look like? And here's some pictures, by the way. For
Sure.
everybody.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is a very important project as part of the recent master plan that was recently adopted by the board a couple of years ago. And Phase 1, the new entrance from the parking lot to Wargo has been rebuilt. We built some bump outs for educational nodes as people approach the Nature Center to make it more interesting. And part of this project also includes putting interpretive features in those bump out nodes for the public. So as they're approaching the Nature Center, they're able to pull off and experience some interpretive type features on their way to the Nature Center. Once they reach the Nature Center, this project will also upgrade the existing facilities, which were from the early 1990s when the Nature Center was built. They're old, they're outdated. Some lighting upgrades will also be part of this project. So the department is poised to move this project forward. It's a very important project. We have over 30,000 visitors to the Nature Center every year. And one of the ongoing comments we have is, it would be nice to have some more interesting type interpretive displays in the center itself. So with that, Madam Chair, members of the board, we're excited to move this project forth. There's no county levy dollars used in this project. It's exclusively legacy funding, in addition to $50,000 for design through the Edith Wargo Endowment Fund.
And Madam Chair, I will move it. This is, by the way, contract C0007177, just to be official. And I would move the resolution.
I will second it. And would just comment that it definitely is in need of some revamping and a makeover. It's been a long time and it's looking pretty worn, so I'm appreciative of this opportunity. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next items are committee action items. Madam Chair, I just want to mention a couple. We had some discussion about the wave pool replacement options, and we kind of went back and forth as to Just a couple different things that we were looking at, but I think we're getting very close to the design. It's pretty much similar to the one we had picked at our previous meeting. We did ask a little bit about getting some more dollar ideas or what the cost of the boogie board or whatever they wanted to call that aspect of it, but we've seen those numbers, and while they're not as high as I thought they would be, we may need to have some more discussion as to whether it's where we want to go, because it does kind of place in the wave pool a structure, and I think we need to have that discussion as to whether that's valuable to us or not. The other one was we reviewed and recommended to postpone securing a professional golf services consultant for Chamonix Golf Course. We were feeling, because now we have a new director in place for the course, and we're looking at making some changes internally on our own. We kind of felt that maybe we had an opportunity to see what we could do on our own with the new leadership there before we went out and hired somebody. So I think that's been passed around, I think, to some of the board members, and I think that's a good idea to at least see what we can do in 2019 and see how things turn out. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache.
Madam Chair, I saw you notice over at me when he was mentioning the boogie board. Full disclosure, while I did bring it up, I did say that that I'm a little too old for that and I'd probably get hurt. So it's there's younger people that may take advantage of that. So,
Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did just have one question about the consultant. Did you guys, I can't remember, did you decide if it was like we'll wait for 6 months or 12 months, or was it just kind of tabled for now in general?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think what we decided to do was to run through 2019. Let's see how 2019 turns out. Some changes have been made that we feel will be helpful. And at the same time, when we were looking through some of the offers and reports that came into us, we really didn't find anybody maybe that fit exactly as what we were looking for. But maybe down the line that we'll change our mind. But I thought it was worth the opportunity to see what our new staff can do. Give them 1 year and see, and if it's hopefully now the weather is changing and we're going to have 80 degrees. And things are going to look great, and we're going to have a great season, and we're going to run all the way to the end of October, early November for golfing, and then we're going to have a great season. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
Next, we will move back to Management Committee report. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a few items and then an additional item from our morning meeting. Items 1A and B are new positions in Human Services and Public Health Environmental Services, which is a 1 FTE and a 0.5 FTE correctional health registered nurse. And the reason for this is when we check people into the jail, our officers have done the evaluation and checking them in, and it's just really not adequate. They're not trained adequately to do it, so these nurses will be better trained and better serving the people that come into the situation, keeping it safe. So those two.
Okay, is there a motion to approve items 1A and B?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Look,
aye.
Commissioner Brastad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Severaj,
Aye. Sorry.
Commissioner Severaja, Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Motion carries. Next item.
The next item, 1C, is a new position in the Sheriff's Office in the Criminal Investigative Division. And again, they've been really lacking for the coverage for this. This is just going to make them be able to be much more responsive to the calls that they get.
Is there a motion to approve? It's been moved by Commissioner Brastad, second by Commissioner Schulte. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Brastad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Severaja,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I should have included all these together. A new position in the Sheriff's Office in Justice Services. It's a 1 FTE deputy, grade 2105, and a new position in Criminal Investigative Division. It's a lieutenant, 1 FTE, and they have been without a lieutenant for a long time. And again, because of the urgency of the situations they're in, this is very necessary.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve items D and E?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Motion carries. And then the additional agenda.
This is in the Attorney's Office, and it is a .725 FTE. County Attorney is being restructured to a 1 FTE Assistant County Attorney, same grade. So what they've done is they've had these part-time attorneys come in, and they've had a high turnover, and then they start all over again. So this will give them a better pool to choose from, and this position is, I'm always glad to see somebody start getting benefits for the work they do for us. So they're looking forward to getting this done quick.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Silveraja, Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report. The rest is informational.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Transportation Committee report, and then we also have a Transportation Committee Chair report. Commissioner Schulte.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee had an opportunity to meet on Monday, May 6th at 9 a.m. here in the Government Center, and we have a number of items here for you to consider. First, the committee would recommend approval to enter into a joint powers agreement with the City of Columbus for the reconstruction of West Freeway Drive from a point 3,500 feet north of 147th Avenue to the new roundabout at Lake Drive.
And I will move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Madam Chair, I would just, for the public's edification, this is all in relation to the new bridge being built over by Running Aces off of 35 and Highway 97, or our County Road 23. This is the west frontage road that would serve that side of the highway and run past Running Aces and up to our new roundabout up on 23.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item.
The committee recommends approval to enter into a joint powers agreement with the City of Coon Rapids for the replacement of the traffic control signal systems at the intersections of Coon Rapids Boulevard and Avocet and Coon Rapids Boulevard and Egret Boulevard in the City of Coon Rapids. I would expand on that just to say that these will be complete new signal systems. The roadway itself is being modified. It's a partnership with the City of Coon Rapids. This is that joint powers agreement that allows all that to happen.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
I would expand one more time on that last issue. These two new semaphores that are being installed are kind of a pilot program for us here in Anoka County. We've always painted our poles green at the base and then yellow for the vertical mast arm, and then the overhead mast arm was always silver. And it's a cost to paint and to repaint and maintain, and so we're going to experiment with a raw galvanized silver system, similar to what MnDOT has used for a couple of years or a number of years. And I think it's something that would, in the long run, save us money, be more maintenance free, and I think they'll be very appealing to look at. I don't think they'll rust as fast. I think the paint traps that moisture in there, and then they begin to rust as the salt hits them and they get nicked. So Look for that. These will be the first two in our county. We can keep a close eye on them as we drive by, make sure they're working perfectly and looking good, and then we'll, as we move through the rest of the system, we will, as we order new poles, replace them with these. We won't be doing any mass experiment of taking down 20 at a time just for this purpose. Next, I'll move on to item 3. The committee recommends award of a contract to Dressel Contracting for the Broadway Avenue shoulder widening and bituminous overlay from Potomac Street to Kettle River Boulevard in the city of Columbus.
I will move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I do want to touch on one item under information before we move to the chair's report, and that is item 5 under highway for information. We discussed the new improvements on Highway 10 at Fair Oak and Thurston with the city of Anoka and the consultant that we used to help design that area with the announcement that it's fully funded. It's a expensive project, $80 million, I believe, and it's now fully funded. The project will commence in some in late 21, but mostly 22 and 23. And it'll be a challenging time for commuters as they move along Highway 10. But Fair Oak and Thurston will both be grade separated, and there will be no more traffic control at those two intersections. Leaving just then Sunfish Lake and Ramsey Boulevard as the last two intersections on Highway 10 we will deal with. But we had a great presentation, some good animation, some good video on what this project will flow like. It'll be completely different than it is today. And I would urge people, Doug, is that on our website right now? The layout and the animations or anything like that?
Doug?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Schulte, County Board members, I'm Doug Fisher, County Engineer and Transportation Division Manager. I believe we have a link on our website to the city's webpage, which does have the layout and information regarding that project. So.
Thank you, Doug. I would urge the public that travels that way regularly to go to that website, click through that link and watch the animation and look at the layout. It's ingenious. Took a lot of work to get to that point, went through a lot of iterations, but it maximizes the space in the area to get all the roadways and frontage roads and everything necessary in. With that does conclude.
Commissioner Look has a comment.
And Madam Chair, thank you. I just I want to echo some of Commissioner Schulte's comments. The visual representation of what it'll look like is, I mean, I can't even really put words to it. I mean, you kind of know the project and you know some of the changes that are going to occur, but to see it visually, I mean, Bolton and Mink hit it out of the park when they put this together, and hopefully in future projects we'll have the same type of professionalism from them, because it's really interesting. But Madam Chair, what I do want to say is this county board, I think it was probably about 6 years ago, maybe a little longer, identified Highway 10, which is U.S. Federal Highway 10, as our top priority. It's not our responsibility. We have some connecting roads in Sunfish and Ramsey, but the realization of the fact that Bunker Lake Boulevard was taking a beating for people that were avoiding Highway 10, and the need to try and advance some of these projects on Highway 10, I think as a board we realized it was a top priority. And coupling that with the fact that pedestrians were getting hit and killed and cars were getting broadsided while trains were going by and first responders were waiting for the train to go by, I mean, it was a disaster. And it's been a disaster for many, many years, 50 plus years. And what I'd also like to give just a shout out to MnDOT, because in the past where perhaps they've been busy elsewhere, maybe south of the cities, they've actually turned a lot of attention and been very supportive of the projects we're looking at. To date, we've brought in about $125 million to this corridor, and if all goes well, we're looking at probably another $100 million to finish the Sunfish and Ramsey projects. But to kind of identify a little bit for the public what the pain will look like in 2022, we have Fair Oak and Thurston, which will get modified. We have the Main Street Highway 10 bridge, which will be modified. We have the 4710 Ferry Street 4710 bridge that'll get modified. We have the Rum River Bridge, Highway 10 going over the Rum River, that'll get modified, and we quite possibly have the 4th Avenue bridge as well that may need to be modified. So in all, in 2022, this place is going to look like a bomb went off, and you know, and it's going to be tough to get through, and it's going to be very painful for the traveling public, no question about it. For those that have helicopters, I'm sure they won't experience this. But that pain, and I just want to kind of also bring up, when we did Armstrong Interchange, and there were cones in the highway and all the disruption, generally speaking, if you drive down 169 and they're doing construction with cones, traffic's backed up forever. But when they took that light out at Armstrong Boulevard and had all the cones, and you should have expected delay, it actually moved faster than what the light did. It caused for disruption. And so it is going to be painful, but once completed, this thoroughfare, the safety, the ability for people to get where they need to get without being stopped and rear-ended and with distracted driving as it is today, this is going to be just a wonderful highway. And I want to thank the board for a lot of commissioners don't cover Highway 10 here, but they realize that it's a backbone that a lot of county residents use, and when safety is concerned and they make the investments, it affects everybody across the county. So great project. Very excited about the city of Anoka. I wanted to thank them endlessly for their tireless efforts in trying to get this done as well. And really, it's, you know, city of Ramsey, city of Anoka, city of Andover, city of Coon Rapids, Anoka County, everybody singing off the same sheet of music. And advancing this project as important. And I think legislators have seen that and they've responded, and we're very thankful for that. So thank you.
Madam Chair, and I would just wrap up this portion of it by saying I would be remiss in not recognizing Commissioner Look and his work at the Transportation Advisory Board. Secured over $14 million for this specific project. I believe there were 2 separate rounds of appropriations that came in. Excuse me, that came in to this project, and that's a substantial amount. And again, we've talked about partnerships and the importance. City of Anoka, I mean, this project wouldn't be where it is, but not for them hiring the consultant and working through them for the Anoka solution. So with that, Madam Chair, that does conclude my committee report, and I have one short committee chair report for you. This comes before you as a chair's report because of its immediate need for action. This is to deal with Hanson Boulevard and the creek and the expansion project that runs from 138th north. The MDE landfill that is just west of Hanson Boulevard, the MPCA owns an easement underneath Hanson Boulevard all the way to the east side of the bridge. So for that reason, we need to have an agreement with them because we're working over their easement. So as the chair of the committee, I recommend approval to enter into an agreement with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency for the Hanson Boulevard reconstruction project from 139th Lane or J Street to Bluebird Street in the city of Andover.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Madam Chair, I would just comment that we've had an agreement with the MPCA in the past, but they want a specific agreement for this project. And that's why we need to come through now, because if we wait for another transportation meeting and another board meeting, we're pushing back the construction schedule substantially and would critically hamper the completion date of the project, and we don't want to do that.
Right. Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Silveraja.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That completes my chair's report.
Thank you. And then the final item is to consider Resolution 2019-64, appointment of the position of the County Administrator for Anoka County. Is there,
I'd like to offer the resolution.
resolution's been offered by Commissioner West. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
When I first ran for office, I was told to grow thick skin because politics is not for the faint of heart. And that may be true, but I have found that knowing who I am is a far better anchor. and who I am as a community service leader who became a public servant. Now that I'm in politics, people tell me to be careful, that being too loud when in the minority could get me assigned to the Coats and Closets Committee. And this may be true, but it holds no power over me. There's honor in all work, and if I am assigned to the Coats and Closets Committee, I promise you I will own it and have the best coats and closets ever seen in Anoka County, because that is who I am. The county administrator for Anoka County is the top staff position in the 4th largest county in the state. This person supervises all department heads and is ultimately responsible for 2,000 employees and managing a $300 million budget. I was appalled to learn that we practice a direct board appointment for a 6-figure taxpayer-funded position, and I have been advocating for a fair and open hiring process since day one, and my goal has simply been to find the most qualified candidate for the job. On March 26th, there was some strong commentary made at the board meeting. At that time, I did advocate for an external job search, all 6 commissioners to be part of the interview process, or Commissioners Look, Gamache, and myself to be on the interview committee. On April 9th, I did agree to have a 10-day job search, accepting internal candidates or past county employees who had left the county in the last 5 years and left in good standing. I agreed to having a interview subcommittee comprised of Vice Chair Commissioner Schulte, Commissioner West, and Commissioner Gamache. This agreement was an act of compromise. We received 24 applicants with 6 qualifying with the minimum requirements. I want to personally thank everyone who applied. You proved that opportunity in Anoka County is welcomed when it is offered. All 6 candidates were interviewed, with the top 3 scoring high enough to make it to the eligibility list. This was Brad Thiel, Cindy Caesar, and Rhonda Sivaraja. I spoke at great length with Commissioner Gamache about the interviews. He spoke highly of all 3 finalists. He was impressed with Brad Thiel and Cindy Caesar's level of education. Both of them have master's degrees, as well as their years of management experience. Cindy Caesar in particular, he thought, came with numerous qualifications as the division manager of human services. And just to clarify, so as a division manager, she is responsible for community corrections, community social services and behavioral health, economic assistance, public health and environmental services, and the job training program. The recommended appointment today also comes with many good qualities, but are not necessarily the best fit for this role. Commissioner Sivaraja has been a strong commissioner since 2003 and a strong board chair since 2011, and I respect her work. And the top elected official does not and should not necessarily and automatically qualify you to have the top staff position. This alone, as I say, doesn't quite pass the smell test. As a commissioner that was not part of the interview process, I did have limited access to the information, and because Commissioner Gamache recommended a different candidate, I cannot support this resolution. I do want to thank all of my colleagues for their compromise at putting a hiring process in place. I also want to recognize the employee relations staff for their time and their leadership. I've noticed that politicians often talk about their election certificates, that these pieces of paper give us the power to make important decisions. This may be true, but my election certificate tells me people in my community trust me. They trust me to do the right thing and to work hard on their behalf. I believe good governance must include transparency by us and civic engagement from you. This is the two-way street that will pave our way forward and prevents us from building our own fiefdom in which to rule. Thank you.
Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to, and I'm not sure the proper procedure of making an amendment to the current resolution, but I was considering making an amendment to resolution to separate the contract out from the rest of the resolution. I don't believe any of the county commissioners really had much input into the contract, and I'm just curious as to what we could do if we separated it out and moved it towards another meeting later on down the line. The resolution indicates that the job would, May 31st is the start date, and I'm just thinking that I would think we could have some type of a conversation amongst the 6 board members as to the contract. In a previous role in Andover, we used to be able to take some contract negotiations, personnel negotiations, or issues that we were dealing with and go into special sessions that were closed to the public and have those discussions. I'm not sure if that's legally the same here at the county board for something like this role, but I was just kind of, first of all, wanted to ask if there was if I just make an amendment and ask for a friendly amendment or whatever, but to move forward with separating the two, the contract versus the thing, so that we can have some discussion towards the contract. And if County Attorney Palumbo would weigh in if he has any knowledge as to having possible off-site or offline meetings with 6 county commissioners. Obviously, that's open meeting issues, but there are stipulations, I believe, in the open meeting law regarding certain types of meetings.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gamache, we cannot close a meeting to discuss the contracts only for litigation at this point.
Only for litigation.
So, to your first point, however, if you wish to move to amend this resolution, a resolution is just a written motion. That person or that commissioner who offered the resolution, Commissioner Gamache would then request that commissioner to accept a friendly amendment. If they refuse to accept a friendly amendment, then you would have to make a motion, which would have to be seconded and then voted on.
Okay, thank you. So Commissioner West made the original resolution, motion on the original resolution, so I'm asking to accept a friendly amendment to separate out the contract for further discussion later on from the current resolution.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Thank you. Did I make myself clear enough? I'm just kind of wondering. All I'm looking to do is that we have this separated out. And does anybody have any questions regarding that? Otherwise, I think we have that as now a friendly amendment.
And Madam Chair, just so I'm clear, you would strike everything after May 31st, 2019 in the last paragraph of the resolution? So the clerk is clear as to exactly what we're talking about here?
I believe that's correct. I don't have it right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Commissioner West. Did that need to be seconded as well or not?
No, it's a friendly amendment, so it can be accepted by the maker of the resolution.
All right.
Or the offer.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Other comments, I do appreciate the work that we've done moving from March 26th to today, where we did get a process put in place, a process that was negotiated back and forth by all of us giving a little bit here and a little bit there as to what we ended up with. We had a process that looked for people that had county experience, which I appreciated greatly. It did allow us to have a oral exam period and discussion that went on to look at the candidates, the 6 candidates, who I appreciate them taking the opportunity to apply and taking the always difficult opportunity to go before a hiring committee, which is not always easy, but I appreciated that. I learned a little bit from each and every one of them, and I thank them for that. We did come up with, we numbered out each of us giving a score on each question that we had of 13 questions. from 0 to 5, I believe the total was. So we all came out with our own candidates that we thought did the best or had the most experience. And from my standpoint, the education or the experience is the key for hiring in a position as important as this one. And that's why when I looked at the candidates that we had, and again I thought all of them did a great job. We came up with 3 solid ones that made whatever criteria that we had to get to a certain point total. And those 3 candidates all had their own strengths. Some had a little more weakness here in other areas, but the candidate that I saw as the most experienced and I thought could step in today would have been is Cindy Caesar, and I think she would do a great job in that role as well. There are some concerns that I still have, and one of the concerns goes back to what we did on March 26th. That was, the biggest thing that we have going for us is the public confidence in the board. And I was worried that something that looked like a political maneuver of just appointing someone to a role was wrong, and that's what I was mostly concerned about, and why I pushed so hard for having a process. I know it's been done before. I know it was done the last 2 times that the county board hired. I would have been against it in both cases. I don't believe in that. I believe that you always should have you should always have a process. You should always open it up. You should probably bring in people outside of the county. There are a lot of great ideas, a lot of great people out there that you could bring in to hire. It would be an advantage to us. We would actually be able to see what is out there and who is out there and get some fresh ideas. I know when we're hiring people from currently the county leaders that we have right now, several of them came from other places, different cities, different counties. They give a new flavor, a new taste, a new whatever you want to call it, but they give us a little bit more rounded personnel. So that was why I wanted to do that, and we didn't do that. We went internal, and that's fine. There's some really good candidates internal as well. So I do have some of the same concerns today as I had back in February. It's a different job between being a county commissioner and being a county administrator. I know that we all sit on different boards, on different, we're involved in different task forces and different groups like that, but we all sit on different boards. And we get some good experience. I just don't know if we get that type of experience. So I'm hoping that if the vote goes in favor of Commissioner Silveraja, that I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that she will do the job at the level of even Mr. Soma did, and maybe even greater. But I still have a concern. I have some issues that, and for that reason, it makes it difficult for me to cast that vote in the positive, but we'll see how the voting goes as today moves forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Schulte.
As a member of the interview committee, I really want to thank the applicants, the 24 that applied and the 6 that made it through to the actual oral interviews. A very competent group of people that came forward, and I enjoyed the process. I did comment to Commissioner Gamache that perhaps I was a little too early when I was moving to appoint Commissioner Silveraja at that first meeting, because the process did work well. And I think I can look back and say, yeah, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe we should have done this process from the beginning. The process worked well, and the interviews went well. And my score sheet was as clear as it could be. And I went in with no preconceived notions. I went in with an open slate and an open mind, as I promised I would. But there was a candidate that rose to the top, and that was Commissioner Silveraja. And I scored her as such, and I will be casting my vote today in support of the resolution, as I know the quality of that candidate, and I look forward to working with her in that capacity. I would note that we have a 7-county metro region, and almost every county administrator came within in their county. It didn't come from without, it came from within. And I don't see a problem with that. I've always been a fan of promoting from within. I think it works good for the morale of the crew, the people working, and so I will be supporting the resolution.
Matt?
Commissioner Look.
Madam Chair, thank you. First of all, let me say thank you to everyone being here today and taking your time to come out and to watch this transparent process. I know there's been some talk as to transparency, and this is transparency. I'd also like to say thank you to the 3 members that spent their time on the interview committee and their hours in evaluating candidates. Thank you for carrying the water on that. Much appreciated. Also like to say that I think this has been a win from the standpoint that we advocated for an internal process. My belief was that there were internal candidates that should apply. There was some talk that they wouldn't want to apply now or whatever the case was, but in fact they did. And they came forward, and they're very valuable people. They're professionals in their field. There's no question about it. And I appreciate them doing that, spending their time to do this as well. From the beginning, I advocated for an internal process because of the unique nature of filling this position. And there's nothing wrong with an internal process, and we were able to exercise an internal process, and I think we were successful in doing so. And we always talked about taking the person out of it. It's not about a person, it's about a process. And it's about a fair process where people are interviewed, scored, top score comes out, okay? And I would say without question that the 3 members on this interview committee are of the most upstanding character, okay? And I don't think that anyone here today is prepared to say that they are not of upstanding character and that they somehow scored unfairly the process. And so I'm going to respect that process. We came out of the meeting that, you know, it was funny, we had a 3-3 vote deadlock. That's why you have 7 members, by the way, to break a deadlock vote. And one of the commissioners asked me, well, what do we do now? And I said, well, it's simple. We have $145,000 savings to the budget. You know, and of course I'm on finance committee, so I'm interested in saving money at the budget. But anyways, but it was important for public perception certainly to come together in a work session. It was publicly, you know, people were there. It was televised or at least recorded for televising later, and we were able to hammer out our details. Did we all win? No, we didn't all necessarily win on all of our topics, but we all didn't lose either. And that's what consensus is you compromise, you come to an agreeable outcome, and we did that. And we left that day with a 6-0 vote on a consensus, okay? And so for now, I think that process has played out. And it's played out well. Played out according to plan, we could say. And it's been an outcome, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. It was the outcome we all agreed to. And so from that standpoint, I'm not going to take a position now where I'm going to say, you know what, I guess I don't like the outcome, even though we followed the process. Because if I take that position, then we just wasted everyone's time, okay? We shouldn't have come together in a work session. We shouldn't have driven a consensus. We should have just said, forget it and appoint somebody. But we didn't. We took that extra time. We didn't need to. We aren't required to. I jokingly say we can appoint the janitor if we so wish, and there's a lot of smart janitors out there, probably do a great job. But we decided to do an internal process, and there is, again, great candidates that came forward. I'm impressed with that. I always, you know, there's a plan A, and I always like plan B, because plan B always gives strength to plan A. You might need to use plan B at some point, so it's always good to have a good plan B in your pocket, and I think we have that now with the people that came forward. So at any rate, I want to thank the board. I think this has been a peaceful dialogue. We've been friendly and cordial to each other. We've come to an agreement, and that speaks volumes, so thank you.
Commissioner West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, this is the first time I've seen consensus happen over such an uncontentious situation. I remember when I first came on the board, I discovered that we would go to Billy's to eat, and whichever highest level employee that came along paid the bill for everybody at the table. And I tried to change that 2 times, and I even got yelled at about it, and there was no consensus. But I apologize that I didn't cooperate more quickly, because I do think the process worked. I very much appreciated the questions and the way the questioning was done, and it made me feel very confident that I could keep my mind open. And, you know, I also thank those who applied. And of the finalists, I think it speaks well to how close the score was, that it was fair. And I still, after it was all said and done, I still agree that Rhonda Silveraja's experience and her knowledge, her skills, her leadership cover a broader area of the many different facets in Anoka County. The others would be fine as well, but I just appreciate the skills she carries. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's been the chair. It's her intelligence. I've been amazed by her intelligence since I met her when I came on this board. So I appreciate the others very much. I'm glad they are part of Anoka County, and I plan to support this resolution.
Commissioner Brassad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, this has been a process. You know, I agree with everything, you know, each one of us has said. It did not necessarily take the path that some of us anticipated it taking, but it was a good process and it was a good exercise. I think first and foremost, as colleagues, we have respected one another, even through our differences. And just imagine if that was done at our state and our national level. Where would we be? You know, there'd be nothing to report in the news. So I am glad that this process is wrapping up. I want to thank our ER department for their endless hours of work on this, and for the subcommittee that took the time to interview the people. From day one, I did believe in staying internal. We have wonderful employees in Anoka County, and letting them know that, you know, there is a pathway to bigger and different jobs. I think that's very important. Commissioner Silveraja has been here since 1990 in various capacities, so I am looking forward to supporting her in her new role. Thank you.
Commissioner Meisner.
Did everyone have? You know, I just wanted to comment with the Commissioner Look's few comments. So first of all, yes, I really acknowledge that this was a great thing, a good win, as he mentioned, to put a hiring process in place. Again, first time since the 1980s. And you had mentioned that it was always about the process and not the person, which was absolutely true in the beginning because there was no process, but the process goal is to find the most qualified person. So it is about the person at this point. I know that I did agree to the process that was put in place, but that does not mean that I necessarily am going to agree with the outcome. And again, primarily for me, that is because I was not involved in the process, and I did advocate for an equal opportunity for all 6 of us to be part of that interview process. The administrator works directly with the board, so to me, it makes common sense that you would want to be part of that process intimately, since you're going to be working intimately with that person person. And then the only other thing I just wanted to make commentary about is that, yes, I do understand that the internal process has been heavily preferred, and again, that's a point of disagreement with me, but that's okay. But there's also a difference between an internal staff employee candidate and an elected official. So I'm just pointing that out, that too is a difference about who we are considering for the top staff position in Anoka County. Thank you.
Further discussion? Commissioner Schulte.
Madam Chair, I'm curious, with this amended resolution that's on the floor, is there a date certain by which we would consider the contract? I think it might be important for the amender to ask the resolution maker if they would be willing to accept a second friendly amendment, making a date certain for consideration of the contract.
I would, Madam Chair, I would. I think we do need a date. I just wanted to have the open conversation leading up to prior or before the May 31st date. So anytime in between, we could wait into next week if that works, or even try to get something scheduled for the next 3 days of this week. But I guess maybe it's better to use the following week as the time. So Friday, May 24th would be the last day of that week, if that works.
That'll be the next board meeting. If I can, Madam Chair, I think you can set it at the next board meeting, because any contract would have to be approved by the board. You certainly can have discussions prior to that, but in terms of, for purposes of this resolution, if you were going to continue it to a date certain, I would do so to May 28th, 2019. That, I believe, is the next board meeting.
That would work.
I accept it.
Okay.
Commissioner Meisner.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I understand what's going on here. So we are going to separately but all together discuss the contract and kind of work through any questions that we might have before we officially vote on the contract.
Well, Madam Chair,
okay?
For purposes of this motion today,
Yep.
this is simply to appoint Commissioner Sivaraja as county administrator.
Okay.
As part of the motion, it's my understanding, is that the consideration of a contract for county administrator will be on the May 28th, 2019 board agenda.
Okay.
And how this board arrives at the terms of that particular contract will be determined by the board prior to, I assume, May 28th, 2019, for whatever committee meetings the board chooses to hold to discuss this particular item.
Okay.
But for purposes of procedure, excuse me, it is just simply to appoint the administrator today. That's what the vote is for the resolution. And also, as part of the resolution, that the contract will then be considered at the May 28th, 2019 board.
Okay.
Okay. Board members, I'm assuming that's your understanding also of the amended resolution. Commissioner West, you offered the resolution. That is your understanding, correct?
Yep.
All right. And Commissioner Gamache,
Yes.
you offered the friendly amendment. That is your understanding also. Madam Clerk, do you have that down? Okay. So now we know what the vote is today.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Sivaraja.
Abstain.
Commissioner Meisner.
Nay.
Commissioner Gamache.
Nay.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there anything else to come before the county board? If not, meeting is adjourned.
I would remind trustees from the HRA that are on the management committee, we'll be meeting in 772 in 5 minutes. And that is Trustee West, Trustee Look, and Trustee Gamache.
I did.